Greetings from David Gillespie here in South Carolina. Just wanted to show you the latest tombstone that I just have finished carving by hand with chisel and mallet only. Before we go any farther, I would like to ask you to please like and subscribe. This piece of slate, this is a piece of green slate. And as you can see, it has beautiful effects that are interesting but not too overbearing to take away from it. So have a standard tri-arch at the top, which is very pleasing, and I actually went around the whole stone with a little incised line that adds a little border to it, and I like to do those little borders incised like that. I think it adds a lot of interest to it. At the top here, my customer, she wanted to carve a butterfly on the top, and so I used a monarch butterfly as my model, so to speak, and it's relief carving, and I left the striations in the background because it gives it a nice white, it turns the stone white, and it leaves a little texture, and it makes this stand out a little bit. So this is something that I've done a time or two, and I think it has some, I think it's a neat effect. So I went in and did as much detail as the chisel and mallet could get in the wings, and then of course I put the antenna on the top. And at the bottom, the customer wanted me to carve fly high, beautiful butterfly. So that ties in with the top, of course, and I use a copper plate pen on paper to achieve this type of script, and then I transfer it over onto the stone. So it is a 1730s, 40s type of letter style, and I enjoy doing that. And of course, copper plate always has flourishes of some sort, so I added the flourish as well. So I've noticed a lot of 18th century stones don't necessarily always have everything in uppercase or uncials, but also have minuscules or lowercase letters. So I really enjoy, and I think it's very pleasing to carve lowercase letters in the course of the stone. As you can see here, there's a lot of variation in the line stroke and width, especially with the B. You can see it flaring out at the bottom there. And to me, the lowercase letters just make it look a little less formal and a lot more personal, I feel like. And I really enjoy doing lowercase letters. Two of my favorite stone carvers of all time, Henry Ems and William Codner in Boston, would usually carve these little flourishes on the tops of G's, C's, S's, and so to me it just screams, I'm not machine cut, I'm not a computer generated design. Each of these letters I drew by hand, carved with a chisel and mallet in a piece of stone, the same way that letters have been carved in stone for thousands of years. And when I see little flourishes like that, to me it adds interest, and it adds an artistic flair, but it also says I was not generated with a stencil or a template. So as is the British style, the British would put the day, month, followed by the year, and of course in America we put the month, the date, and then the year. So I did this in a British style as per request of the customer. And these are 18th century style numbers and abbreviations, which I really enjoyed to carve. And you can see there again the little tail on top of the S, as we were talking about. Typically I'll carve the 2 larger and the 0 smaller, as did the ones in the 18th century, but with this one I felt like for continuity's sake I would keep them relatively a similar size. So I did do that. But you can also see here under November, the little R up here, and the period down below, as well as September with the T up and the dot below. These are little things that you see a lot in 18th century stones that you will not see on a modern gravestone. So these little features here are something that I like to add to a stone that just says, once again, I'm not really modern, I'm a little more artistic and a little more colonial. So on my B down here, the copper plate script B, you can see that it starts out thin, and then the stroke gets thicker, thins out, gets thicker here, and then thins out. So the thinness and thickness of the stroke adds to the beauty of the overall effect of the letter. And each of these letters are at about an angle about like that. I don't know exactly what angle it is, but it's the angle I use. So it's not italic, it's copperplate, and it comes straight out of an alphabet from the 1740s and 50s. And of course, I always sign each stone, for the most part, at the lower right. So this is James David Gillespie, South Carolina. So in case someday somebody wants to know where it was carved, or I also use it as a business card like they did in the 18th century. So if somebody's walking through the cemetery and sees this stone and they like it, and I'm still alive and working, maybe they'll be able to Google search and find me, and I can carve a gravestone for them. So this stone will go into Pennsylvania, and if you have any interest in me carving a gravestone for you or for your loved one, I always try to make them very personal and not cookie cutter. So if this type of material is interesting to you, please reach out and give me an email, or see our website. I'll put it in a link in the description below, and I'd love to try to carve a stone for you.